generate the link now, then I'll send it to you guys. So, hello guys, welcome back to this third session. Today we are going to be looking at how we can design web app, and we are going to be leveraging.
You never start to income ló ṣe kọ ní YouTube bí i.
That started in my own engine.
Only time tó máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ 1836.
No, it has started. I've sent you the link already. Check your WhatsApp.
Income, okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's that. Okay. You never start to income ló ṣe kọ ní YouTube bí i. Make you meet and going.
I just need to close one more tab, I think. Yeah. Yes. So, like I was saying earlier, welcome guys to this class. This is the third session, and we are going to be using reusing the files from the very first class we had. So if you have not been following, I'm sorry, but you would have to watch the other video. You can just follow along, right, and try as much as possible to recreate all of these elements here, because we are going to be making use of those elements. Though we'll also make some tweaks to it, right, as we build, so that it makes more sense. So we are going to introduce like a more advanced way of treating styles and so on. Okay, so without much further ado, so let's jump right in. So what does it take to design a web app, right? So so these are the three things that we are supposed to cover initially, right? To understand more core principles of UX design, learn how to navigate and use Figma efficiently. We've done all of those tools before, so we're just jumping right into like building a web app mockup step by step. Okay, so now what does it entail to design a web app? There's actually a lot of items that is being entailed in designing a web app. So starting from like identifying your information, starting from identifying your user roles. So give me a second. So you need to identify your user roles. So you need to be able to identify your user roles. Then apart from your user roles, another thing that you need to identify here is determine how they are going to navigate your platform. Okay, so you need to determine how they are going to navigate your website. So navigate your website. All right. Another thing that you need to also determine here is you need to know what is the happy part. So happy part is simply, so this time around you're looking at the emotional value, right, that the users will have. So what happy part simply means that, okay, let's say we are in a nice world where a user is going to go from step A to step B and there will be no friction or no problem along the way, right? That is what we call happy part. So I'll give you an example. Say you want to go visit someone in another side of the town, right? And then you know that you need to get the bus or book an Uber ride, right? So you know that if everything goes well, right, say there's no traffic, there's no delay, of your bus is not delayed, you just step out of your house, you're able to get into your bus gets into that place. So those necessary steps that you need to take in order to achieve what you want to achieve, that is what we call the happy part. Now then we now introduce something again, and this other thing that is now called the opposite of what the happy part is, edge cases, right? So edge cases might be like, there are actually two types of edge cases, right? So the first part of edge case is the part that has to do with looking at what if something happens, say there was traffic, right? Or what if something bad happened along the way, maybe the bus had like an accident. Okay, so when we look at these two kind of elements, right, you begin to see that, okay, we need to figure out how we can actually fix all of these things, right? So I'm going to show you so I'm not going to show you like the kind of design we have for this class. We are just going to build as it goes. Okay, so in order to determine this, so let's first understand the kind of company we want to build an app for. Okay, so I think I will also like kind of leverage FigJam a little bit in this case here, so that you can see how the thought process of someone who is trying to design a web app looks like. Okay, so yeah, now they've given us, say, let's say the company has like this landing page already, right? And we're just trying to derive idea from this, right? Though this is not supposed to be part of the process, like, because we should already even have an idea of what the app should look like even before the landing page. But let's say a company comes out to meet you and reaches out to you and say, okay, we have a website, we already know exactly what we want to do, right? And you don't have time to like talk to your users, right? So how do you frame an idea like this such that or maybe in this case now, right, the idea of a website where they get clients, but the kind of problem they have is that they are not able to manage their clients effectively. So let's take it from that kind of story point, right? So they are not able to manage their clients effectively, or they notice that somebody is stealing what's it called now, somebody is stealing from their account. How can they track all of these things, right? So, and that's what's going to inform what we are going to do today, which is the dashboard, right? So let's first start from the initial part. So the initial part is, if you remember when we talk about when Felix introduced the core principle of UX design, right, and design thinking processes, he made mention of like trying to do research, and the essence of that research is to derive like what the pain point is, right? So once you're able to identify these exact pain points, the pain point can be one and it can be multiple. Okay, so but everything should lead to like giving you a solid or important information. Okay, so let's say we came to meet strategy now, and then if you read through what strategy is doing, so they say that okay, we are your partner in strategic intelligence. They work with amazing brands like Netflix, Facebook, The Morning Show, and so on, right? They are about them is that they are like literally focused in helping dynamic businesses, right? So and and they also want to make them grow, and they want to combine that with what simplicity and automation. Then looking into like the kind of values that they have is that or the kind of services they tend to provide is they evaluate what is the existing processes for users. They try to like streamline the kind of product that the users might have to try to capture more market. And then while they are trying to do that, they also now introduce automation to even make things more go to market strategy quicker, or activating multiple markets. Okay, so now moving on. So based off of what I just said now, right, we're beginning to have an idea of, as a user experience designer and what we've learned from mobile and the introductory part, right, we're beginning to capture some ideas around um what's it called now? Around what empowering growth through this company called Strat Edge is all about, right? So now that we have this idea now, we now understand that okay, so let's say they've given us one pinpoint, and we understand that they are into market research, strategic consulting, business processes, and transformation, right? So we can now go on to say, okay, based off of this now, let me just create a new page here where we're going to our web app is going to be new. We can now say, okay, what exactly is the problem that they've identified with us, right? So what is the exact pain point? So let's say we've asked all the questions we need to ask, we've gotten all the information that we need to have, and then everything is pointing to this problem. So this problem now. So and the problem is we are not able to track, or no, we lack reporting and analytics system. Okay, so we like reporting analysis system. So if you think about this, like if what jumps to us immediately is what is to design a dashboard, and that's what is going to lead us to build today. That oh, okay, we're going to build a dashboard, and what and the way it comes, like the way we can easily answer this is like we actually have something in the ideation process in which we call how might we. So the how might we is like a trigger question that helps us to quickly think about possible solutions around solving this kind of problem, right? So the ideation now will now be um how might we help them, right, integrate 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 a reporting system, right, or an analytics system, right? And then based of this other question here now, so based off of this other question here now, you will now see that okay, what we can now actually do is that we can now start thinking of solutions, right? So solutions now, right? So and the solution is going to be um let's design a dashboard for the company. And now, as a designer, whenever you give a solution, you must tell us why or your thought process around that item. So, what is the value that they are going to get when they design a dashboard? These are things that you need to spell out, right? While designing, you cannot go on to say, okay, um, uh, so let's design a dashboard. This will enable. So now you want to go into like your why now. So you cannot say, uh, this will enable use the company to effectively track, and then you have to like very very explicit now, tracks the number of projects as well as clients and their tax, right? We can even say and what's it called now, apart from tax now, another thing we could say is and revenue, right? Revenue. Okay, and you can even think of like multiple different reasons why you should design a dashboard. Okay, or you could say apart from designing a dashboard, we want to have like um a dedicated, so we want to have a, so let's say they already have a dashboard, but dashboard doing something else entirely, right? We can say we want to have a dedicated reporting tool that will not be maybe niche based now, that we cater to fraud in the system. So, and how did I arrive on this? How do I arrive on this? Is that based off of this kind of problem here, we lack a reporting analysis system, right? It is not fully clear. And that's why the ideation stage helps us to uncover many of these problem statements. Like your problem statement has to be super clear. If you say you lack a reporting and analysis system, are you trying to combat? And this way, this is why sometimes in your what's it called? In your design thinking process, it's like a cyclical motion, right? Because sometimes you think that you already have enough information, and then you get to a particular point. Say, for example, you came up with this idea that okay, we want to have a dedicated reporting tool that will cater to fraud system. But now, if we go back to this problem here now, it doesn't show it, and your problem has to be like as explicit as possible, and that's why like everything looks like a cyclical model in while working with what is it called, while doing your user experience, right? So in this case here, we can say okay, we lack a reporting and analytics system. We can now say okay, but if we want to talk about like, oh okay, a fraud in the system, so you could say we notice that our accounts our accounts are not balancing at the end of the year. Okay, so this problem now can speak to this. Okay, so the more you uncover your problem statement, the better you kind of AMI tools you may introduce, and then based off your AMI means now, that is when you now inform me on what solution. So that's why like this process is like a Bible. I'm not saying like it's is like solid or set in stone, right? It's like a cyclical motion where you have this idea, you want to go from problem to solution. I see many people, they just jump into the solution immediately. No, you want to go through this process, right? And then the more solutions you have, make sure that your solution is catering to your problem. And if you see that your solution now does not reflect that problem, you want to like get rid of it. So let's say we just focus on, we lack a reporting and analytics system, right? We can say, okay, we notice our accounts are not balanced at the end of the year, right? So, and the users will be more explicit. We say, okay, this may be due to suspicious activity, right, in our accounts. So we notice that in our accounts are non-balancing at the end of the year, and this may be to a suspicious activity in our account. So, and these things now are something that could be possible, right? So, and what we are trying to do is just trying to like uncover and understand the problem effectively before we go to the next step, right? So, let's say now we've understood that, okay, this is what the next step is, okay. Then the next thing now we need to do is that we now need to start with what we call crazy eight, right? So the crazy eight here now is where we get to in our prototyping phase. Okay. So in our prototyping phase now, we can use different ideas, right, in order to we are just trying to see how we can convert those different solutions into amazing ideas, right? Into amazing ideas that we can build. So we could say, okay, and again, this is where it now becomes very interesting. Like, you cannot go back to your ideation. So despite the fact that you have a solution here now. So let's say now we are going to stick to this instead, right? So no, not this, right? We will now go back again and say, okay, in our prototyping phase now, right? We are going to use ideation, the tool we use in ideation, back in our prototyping phase, right? And we are going to be asking the same question again by using what this indicator here. How might we, right? So the question now is, so let's rephrase it now. We'll now have something like this. So we'll now say, how might we, right, design a dashboard for the company, and then want to like list the metrics, very important before you start designing, right? So all of these things just to get your creative juice, so that it will inform you on how to do your crazy eight. I'll break down what a crazy eight mean in fullest as we go on. So how might we design a dashboard for the company, right? So we can now start answering questions again. So you can say that even in our prototyping phase, we have that same consistent. That's why a lot of people get confused. They're like, but you are doing this, but it's separate from, you are doing this while prototyping, and then you are still trying to do that in your problem state. Your problem statement is very confusing, I know. But the thing is this, it's like I said when I started, I said what user experience design is, especially the design thinking process now, right? It's like a cyclical motion. You get to one point, you gotta start again from beginning. You get on that point, you start again from beginning, like that, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So what that means is that, say for example now, our initial phase is question asking, discovery, right? We usually call that discovery session. You're just asking questions, you're trying to gain more knowledge, you're just like, think of yourself like an AI, right? The more information you have, the better the answer you will give. So that's what you're just doing in the beginning part. And then when you have all of those ones now, you are now trying to uncover, okay, so based on all this information I've seen, where exactly is the problem? So now, once you identify that, okay, this is exactly the problem, and that's what we call the define stage in the design thinking process. So this exactly is the problem. So you will now single that problem and be like, okay, this is the problem, right? And then you now take it to the third stage, which is the ideation stage. And what you are doing with that ideation stage is that you're just asking questions that, okay, how might we provide a solution for this particular problem that we have singled out while we're in the define stage, right? Then you list out those problems one after the other. You list out the solution one after the other, and then there are still a lot of things that are going to actually what's the word now? There are still a lot of things that you actually check with it. It's not only just how do I put it like this now? It's not only just about asking just one single question, right? Because sometimes you still have to ask question like, okay, this solution I'm thinking about, do I as a company or I as a representative of the company, do I have the capacity to build it? Because these are the things you also have to think about. Do we have enough resources to build this thing, this idea that we have? Because you can have an idea and not have the resources to build it. I used to remember I have an idea and I saw that in order to build it, at least I need like $1 or $2 or $3 million to even start, like to start anything at all. I just left the idea alone. I left the idea alone, right? Because some people like, I know you can start with nothing. Yes, you definitely you can start with nothing, right? You can always apply for what's it called? You can always apply for funding, right? Or you can even start with like building something and then put it out to people and all like that. But at that period of my life, I feel like okay, this is actually beyond the kind of resources I have, right? And so based off of that, now what did I do? I left the idea alone. Okay. So because some people be like, no, I must do this idea, this is like the idea is amazing, but can you afford it in terms of time, your resources, and all of those things, right? So those are the things that you check while you are doing your ideation stage. So once you've checked that and be like, okay, I think this solution that we have now, right, is something that I feel like we can build. So you go to the building stage. The building stage is the same thing as the prototyping phase, right, or the prototyping stage. So in this place here, you are just answering a question: how might we design? So the building phase now is like, okay, this is a solution. Remember, the solution was saying. So the solution says what? Right? The solution, the problem was that simply design a dashboard for the company. That was what the solution says. But now, how are we going to create a dashboard for the company? Because and that's why that's so the thing that after that's why even that you've gotten your solution, you are going back again to your ideation stage. That's why I said it's like a cyclical motion. Sometimes you can get to stage 5, which is the testing stage, and you gotta start again from beginning. So that is the way it works. Or sometimes you can jump to like stage 3 or 2 or 1 or and so on and so forth, right? It's always that kind of cyclical motion. So in this stage here now, in this stage here where we have the prototyping phase, right? In this stage here where we have the prototyping phase, what we are simply saying now is that, okay, how might we design this solution? So, and there are multiple ways in which you can design the solution. But before you can determine, oh, okay, this is the solution, um, before you can determine that this is the solution that you want to work with, right? So before you can determine that this is the solution that you want to work with, give me a second here. This line height is disturbing me. Yeah. So before you can determine a solution that you want to work with, right? There are different tools that you can use, right? So you can just design as you feel like, or you can use what we call um, Crazy 8. And Crazy 8 is the phase where you are actually ready to now start designing or sketching out UIs very quickly. Okay, but before you even get to that stage, you need to first now do what we call what your task flow. So your task flow is where you itemize, okay, these are the number of elements that I want to go into this page. Please and please, there is difference between task flow and user flow. And user flow is different from user journey. Let me clarify. User flow is a step-by-step process that will take somebody from one page to another page. A step-by-step process that takes somebody from one page to another page. User journey is a story, an overview story, like an eagle or bird's eye view story of everything that is going on. I'll give example. Let me just use this simple use case. I'm in what's it called now? I'm in Nigeria. I'm going to Canada. The task flow there is that Ade wants to be able to get to Ade wants to be able to get to Canada, right? Everything that will go into the list for that single page, before it can come out, I need to first identify what is my user journey. So my user journey is going to show the bird's eye view, and my user journey is that Ade is going to leave his home in Nigeria and travel all the way to Canada. Finish. You're done. Congratulations. Now, user flow will say Ade will leave his home at 8 a.m. He's going to get to the airport and check in by this particular time. And when he checks in, he's going to get into the plane by this particular time. And then the plane is going to drop him in Canada in this particular location within Canada. So you can see the difference that one is just like an overview, and then the other is like giving like a breakdown list of every element, right? And then your task flow is now treating each stage of your user flow as a full holistic item that needs to be done. I give you an example. When I said Ade is going to check in, I did not tell you the number of things I have to do to check in, right? So when I tell you, oh, in order for me to check in, I need to first enter into the airport. Then when I'm inside the airport, I need to meet with the counter, with the airline counter, right? And then when I meet with the airline counter, I need to provide all my details. And okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, right, are my details. And then when I'm done, they are going to issue me a ticket. From there, I'm going to go to the immigration. The immigration is going to give me a paper to fill, and then I'm going to fill all of those forms. When I'm done with that one, I'll be ready to get into the plane. That there now is the tax flow. That's why tax flow is like, what's that particular individual tax that you are attacked when you are on a single page. That is what tax flow is all about, right? And then so I'll be able to differentiate between, using analogy, to differentiate between user journey, user flow, and your tax flow. If flow is confusing you for tax flow, you can also call it a tax list, right? Where you can itemize the number of list items that need to be done for you to go to the next stage. Okay, so number of list items that needs to be done in order for you to go to the next stage. User flow is just looking at, oh, okay, these are all the stages that has to be done, right? For you to say you have successfully completed your flow, right? And the user journey is looking at the overview of everything. Okay, so now the question now is, how might we design a dashboard for the company, right? And remember that in order to answer this question, we need to review the pain point again. So if I go back now to this problem here, we say what, we lack a reporting and analytics system, right? But it's still kind of vague. Okay, so we can even begin to start thinking and pondering and asking even more questions now. So this is taking us back to our research case, like, okay, or even go back to their landing page. So let me go to the landing page, right? And then if you see here now, we notice that they said your partner in strategic excellence. That means that they are going to be taking clients, right? So we can literally now come back here and put it there and say, okay, you know what? How might we design a dashboard for the company, right? So we can now start working on our tax list. So we understand that we understand. So we understand that you have clients, right? And these clients now, they are definitely going to have us to perform some services, right? So we can say they are going to need what? Services. So in this case here, we can say services, or projects, right? Yeah, so now clients, services, projects, then this project now they are going to be broken down again into a list of tasks, right? Like milestones. So we could have what? Milestones that we can also have them to what? To track. So say milestones, right? Or tasks. Okay, and all of this thing I'm trying to say now is like it's more of like a back and forth conversation between you and the client, and you're asking them all these possible questions, right? Then you are going again to you're going forward again to say, okay, apart from that now, which other element again, which other element might you need, right? We can say, okay, apart from this now, we can say, okay, we've talked about client services, milestones. We can say, remember that we said that one of the problems that they listed in the course of conversation may be um, there was fraud in the system, right? So you could say, okay, you know what, we are going to track their revenue, okay, to see how much is currently coming in into and to see how much is currently coming in into the company, right? So we track that so everybody is well informed, right, across board. Again, we might say um in order to design the dashboard now, like all of these things, right, they are always time bound, right? So we can say, okay, you know what, let's answer the question of us again. Let's answer the question of tracking based on what? Based on time. So in this case, when I'm going to do like tracking based on time now, right, we can say, okay, to start with, we can say, you know what, in order to track based on time now, let's just do, we can track by month, right? Business will usually track by month. They also track by quarters. So that's every 3 months. So 3 months, right? Over the course. So every 3 months, right? Over the course of the fiscal year. Then the last but not the least, they could also track yearly. So they could track like year over year. So from last year to this year, is there a difference, or is there a growth, or is there a downturn, right? So these are the things that you want to do. So once you've identified all of these things, now you can now say, okay, you know what? So based off of this now, let's now come up with our tax list. In this place now, some people even call it user stories. So let's, based off of this now, we're going to come up with a user story. Now, what is a user story? A user story is just simply saying that, okay, this is what a user can see, or this is what a user can perform in this particular interface. And that also now is actually the task list that needs to be done within that page. Okay, that's the interesting part. So now, if I go in here now, we are seeing the prototyping phase, right? So it's a lot of thinking, like I said. We're not going to say, you know what, where is it going to be now? So okay, let's call it user stories, right? So, and if you are working with like a product manager, they usually help you come up with this. So two of you always actually like work hand in hand in trying to like come up with all of these ideas, right? And then you start with like the first part here. So the first part being I say usury. So the first part here now being um so as a user, I should be able to, as a user, I should, or a user should be able to, so different ways on how you can introduce it, right? So a user should be able to, so I know some people might be asking that we talked about user persona earlier. Why are we not talking about user persona in this case? Like in this case now, the user persona is just one, right? It's just the companies, and they just want a dashboard to be able to like track all of those things. So we're not doing like a lot of customer, we're just doing just one single customer. So, and that's why I said a user should be able to, a user in this case now, and this user now can now lead to multiple things, right? So if we're even going to come about user persona, we are, instead of saying user persona in this case now, we're not going to talk about like user rules. So I'll give you an example. In most consulting firms, right, what they usually do is that they have a consultant, and the consultant has their manager, and the manager has what's it called now, like a managing director, right, for that particular branch, and the managing director for that particular branch has a president slash a president slash CEO, right, for that country. Like I'm talking about like international this for that country, and then there's not like an overall head again, right? So it just goes like you even get stuff like, oh, okay, president, continent, president, or CEO of a continent, CEO of a continent, and then you now have uh, the global leader, CEO, right? So these are like some of the cases where you have the kind of structure or hierarchy like that. So in this case here, you can see that very quickly your dashboard may blow you out of the water. So these are also the things that you need to think about, like when you're trying to determine the kind of users. But in this case, we're not even talking about like the user rules. We're just talking about like, okay, from a consultant standpoint, right? What are we going to deal with? So I want us to like focus that the only user we are actually talking about in this place is just from the perspective of a manager, right, or a consulting manager now, right? So let's just say from the perspective of a manager, right? So we can now change our user now from this as a user, right, to be a manager should be able to, right? And then we begin to give ourselves the list now. So what should they be able to do, right? So the first thing that, okay, we can say, okay, we want them to be able to um see, see the total number of active clients, right? So we want them to be able to see the total number of active clients, right? Then the next thing is we want them to also be able to um, see the total of all their projects. Then we also want them to be able to see their current projects, right? We also want them to see um, the number of tasks, so their current projects, right? We also want them to see their present revenue. All right. So we've identified all of these things. We can now even say, okay, what kind of actions? So these are the things that they want to see, right? What kind of actions would they like to do again on this dashboard now? We want them to monitor. So we can also do like, okay, uh, monitor the rate of transactions, as well as, so they can monitor the rate of revenue coming in, right? Then monitor the rate of transactions, or the rate of agreements now. Give me a second. Then they can also go ahead to like say they want to be able to monitor everything, monitor based on months or yearly, right? Okay, so now that we have all of this, right, we can now say, Based off of this now, we have enough information to now say, okay, we want to design our dashboard. So what I used to do at this point is that the next thing I go on to do is I go and look for items that will most likely relate uh, to me now sketching out something. So now, or I just go into like sketching out first, then I now start adding. I will now start adding the other things as we progress, right? So the idea is that it's just for you to like quickly flesh out ideas very quickly. So that is where we now have what we call crazy eight. So let me switch to my drawing pen. So that is on. Please give me a second. Okay. So now, okay. So in this case here now, can I say, okay, um, so the way crazy eight works is this. You have an A4 paper. So let me write it out. So crazy eight. So and crazy eight is actually done timely. Like you have to check it like based on time, right? So you can say, and you must not use more than 1 minute, 1 minute per idea. Okay, so just 1 minute per idea. You guys, please give me a second. So 1 minute per idea. So now, if you look at um the way it works is you need like an A4 paper. So let's say this is our A4 paper. Sorry, don't mind, man. Man is not straight. So the drawing pad the way I'm using it is kind of curved. It's not on the straight line. So let's say this is our A4 paper now. So what we do is that we divide it into we fold it in half first, right? So you first fold your A4 paper like this into half, and then the next thing is you will take this point here and then fold it again into maybe 3 columns now. So this way, one like this, two, okay, and then you now have one, two, three, four, five, then one more here, okay. So by the time you unfold it back, you should have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. So now in this all of these 8 items now, you are meant to now get um, all your crazy eight. Yes, Abimbola Simon said, does PLD and tax law relate to the same? No, they do not relate to the same thing. So a PLD is like a full document, right? It's called a product requirement document. Is a full document where all of this other information are actually going to go into there once you've answered many of these questions, right? So immediately you've answered all of these questions, you put all your answers inside your PRD, and then your PRD is now going to inform your crazy eight. Okay, so now in this way here now, it doesn't look enough. It doesn't look like enough space for me, right? So let me just undo that very quickly. So let's just say we are taking it from like an horizontal view standpoint now, right? So something like this. You know what? Let me just create a frame. So we have this. So I'm going to take it from the horizontal view standpoint now. Yeah. So in this horizontal view standpoint now, we can have something like this. Oh, I get it. So that I'm just trying to break everything up, right? In the horizontal view. So whichever way that you like. Okay, so if you fold your A4 paper, you should have something like this, right? So then the other thing I'll just do is now I'll lock it. Another frame, then lock this one. Okay, so here now we are just trying to answer the question. Okay, how can we easily or quickly design our dashboard, right? So let me flip it back, because if I do like this, probably like maybe because I want to design a laptop, right? So, but yeah, now we've agreed that okay, we want to design a dashboard. So we have this enough space to work with. So based on that, now can I say okay, the first thing is that and again, this is where your first sketching part comes into play, right? So I'm just gonna take my pen too, right? Don't mind my handwriting or my drawing, right? It's just to quickly flesh out ideas. And then I'm going to tell myself for each of the drawing, right? I'm going to be 1 minute. So that is 8 minutes into thinking about the process, right? So the first process could be like, okay, so based off of what we said earlier, we want to identify the client and this thing. So we just know that it's just going to be like an overview summary, right? So how do we design an overview summary now? So basically we have something like this section here. Oh, this is too thick. Yeah. So we can say, okay, we want to have an overview summary, and this overview summary will be like, so yeah, so obviously I will design our website frame, okay, for everything. This, like I said, don't mind handwriting. So let's say this is our browser, right? Nothing really serious. So here now we can say, okay, this section here, this part of the section here will be our summary, okay, and then you want to like break it down. So we know there are like 4 items, right? And then in this next section here, we can say, okay, we want to do analytics, okay, like a like graph, right? And then we have that here. And then the next section, I want to say, okay, we want to track recent projects. So we can put recent projects here. Recent projects, right? Could be like a Kanban board. So we are done with one. Then we'll go to two. Say, okay, same thing for the outer frame. Okay. So yeah, this is going to be your first assignment is look for an idea. Then when you have the idea, ask the client questions, or I say ask people questions now, or the users, right? Ask them questions, right? And try and come up with a web app, just a single page web app that they relate with, and they want to see you do all of these processes, right? Against the final class on Saturday, because all of these are part of what is required. So we want to see you do crazy eight. We want to see you. So we need to see all your eight sketches, and you need to explain to us how you are able to arrive on the final idea, right? So very important. So the next thing is you have this next section again. I'm just going to create the circle, put the line. Then the next thing I come say, okay, you know what? Instead of analysis summary taking up the entire screen, right? Let me introduce in this place our sidebar. So this sidebar can be like maybe other elements that we not uncovered, that we not talked about, right? And then because this one is just only one page, right? So we just okay, you know what, this is just going to be our dashboard, right? And this point here now, you say I don't talk about anything about that sidebar, right? And that's the thing, like the more you design, the more creative juices you have, and this is one of the advantages of doing crazy 8. You can even do crazy 16 or 24 or 100 or 200, right? But you're trying to limit yourself, and you're trying to design as fast as possible. You are trying to limit yourself, as well as trying to design as fast as possible. Very important. So in this case here, I can say, okay, I have my sidebar here, right? Then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put my summary somewhere here. So summary will go here, right? And I can say, okay, you know what? Apart from summary, now I want to easily be able to track all my recent projects. So we can say, okay, you know what? Recent projects will go here, right? Like we've not looked at any inspiration, it just come to us as fast as possible, right? And then the next thing we say, okay, you know what? We want our analytics here to be here, right? And then here now I want to see like list of our clients, so our client list. Or maybe we want to see so client list, let's just have our client list here, right? We can now break it down to say again, okay, maybe we want to see list of people that just joined, right? Like recently onboarded clients. So maybe recently onboarded clients, right? Screen two. So notice that the more I flesh it, sometimes idea is dropping in my mind as I'm going on. I've not thought about it before until right now, right? So same thing. So if you do it too, it's going to work. So I can again go to stage three, pull it this way, pull this one down. Please don't mind my handwriting. It's way more nice on paper because I'm sharing my screen. So I that's what I'm doing all of this, right? So then the next thing is again, I'm thinking about like, okay, I don't want the sidebar here. I just want this since there may not be a lot of navigation, right? So there's no need to use the bottom sidebar. You know what? Let me just introduce a menu bar instead here. So I'm going to have a menu bar. So my menu bar will be company name, uh, a couple of links. Maybe there's going to be search. I don't know. And then probably like obviously like an account to like log in or log out, and to log out, right? Or check settings. Okay. Or to check settings. So in this case here now, in this place I can say, okay, you know what? I want to retain the summary card before, right? So I want to retain the summary card. So at the summary card now is going to have the 4 items like this. And then apart from that, I can say, okay, you know what? Instead of it having all the instead of analytics taking up all the entire space, right? I can say, you know what? I want analytics to just take part of this space. Analytics should take just part of this place. And then yeah, I also want to see my recently I just want to see my recently onboarded clients. So recently onboarded clients. So Ukatochukwu says, how will you get the link of the company? No, you're just going to do research. Right? Just find any company and see how you can create a web app design for them. Just reach out to any company. Can you even reach out to UBA customer care, whatever, any company of choice. Just reach out to them. Even it can be like a manual company, right? Just make sure that you're able to explain all of these things, right? And then now we go to the next stage. Okay, so again, see how I'm able to like create multiple ideas and multiple layers as we are designing. So that is the interesting thing about crazy. Like it forces your brain to think even before you have not thought about it. Like it just forces your brain. Like it feels like magic sometimes to me. Even right now, it still feels like magic, right? That I'm able to think like this. So again, we do it again like this. Another one. So this time around now we're like, okay, you know what? Let's do, we're having this one. So then in this case here, I'm like looking at, okay, no, let's keep the sidebar again. Let's keep the sidebar again, right? But in this time around now, we're going to look at the summary. Put the summary here. So summary. So notice I'm using text instead of like joining all the lines and everything. I'm just using text or shapes to figure out exactly what I'm doing. I'm not like really fleshing something totally solid, but you will see I'm going to be flipping back and forth um to it. Okay. So now moving on, I cannot say okay based off of this, right? Mm, So based off of this, I can say, you know what? I want to retain. Uh, I noticed that recently onboarded clients could have like a couple of or long list of projects I want to be looking at. I want to be able to save everything at one fell swoop, or on the fly rather. So I can say I want all of this portion here to just reflect all the client projects, right? And then this place now should reflect all our analytics, okay? And then this place here now should reflect our client list, okay? Now we can even say, in the course of design, you can say, what if the if we go back again to their website, right? Because let's say that's our own source of information right now. We can go back and say, okay, what if they're a global company and they want to be able to track they want to be able to track where exactly they are going to be able to track where exactly the companies are, right? Or they are going to be able to track the current businesses, where the current businesses are, and they are going to get that information, right? They want to be able to see that kind of that. That's why I said user experience is like, yeah, as you're designing, you are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth till you get to the final thing. Even in the final thing, there's nothing like final design. There's only just improvement, more improvement, more improvement, and so on and so forth. So if I come back here now to this portion here and I zoom in again like this, now I can say, okay, if they want to be able to track it, we can actually put a map to signify using what's it called, to signify exactly where most of their traffic is coming from, like most of the business that is actually reaching out to them, right? So that now can I inform their marketing strategies and say, okay, you know what, people in Toronto are actually buying more of our services. You know what, let's go and double down on our sales in Toronto, right? And we can introduce to them and say, okay, this is something that you like to have in the platform. They say, okay, yes. So we can even try it out and say, okay, let's introduce that now. And if you think about it, this is something I've not even thought of. It's just as I'm designing, it's just coming, right? And that's if you ever each or when and every one of you tries it out, you see how it just feels like you just see like your mind is like on another superpower level, basically. So I'm going to pull it again and push it this way, right? Give us our 3 circles as usual for your browser open and close. And for people that are on Windows now, their one is on the right. For people that are using Mac, their one is on the left. So again, we can say, okay, you know what? Here now we are going to have our summary list, right? So this time around, our summary list now can be like maybe 4 boxes, yeah, stacked on top of each other. Unlike the other ones that have been like on the straight line, right? And we can say, okay, here now we want to track the country using map, using heat map. So this is what we mean by heat map now. Let's say you draw, please don't mind my drawing, right? You draw Africa like this now, right? You draw Europe like this, then you draw North America like this, right? So this is what you have like your middle is like somewhere around here, right? And then you have like Russia and Australia and all those other countries like this, right? And then you have it like this now. Okay, so let's say this is the example of the world map. Now let's say you now want to introduce that. Okay, people that are in Africa, they are very very popular, right? So you just shade it. Now the deeper the shade, the more you it quickly informs you that okay, this person is coming from this particular location, right? So you can say okay, people from Africa, right, actually buying into our idea. We can even go on to say, okay, you know what, we can actually break it down by apart from continent, we can actually break it down by country, but country by country will be a little bit busy, right? So we can introduce this heat map, right? But now we can actually still introduce like a drop down. Again, we also always try and as much as possible. One of the principles is like what, aim for simplicity over complexity. Very important. So because simplicity is the best form of sophistication. If you check this question here now, I can say, okay, you know what? We can actually filter. So we can introduce filter and say, okay, we can allow them to filter by country. By country. So we can filter by country. So filter by country or by continent. Okay, so that they can know, oh, this is where we are getting a lot of money from, then they just double down on that point. So in terms of like maybe the ad spend and all of those things, right? And then they can say, okay, you know what, the next thing we still want to track our normal analytics, right? So the analytics could now be like, okay, you know what, we're going to track the range of how uh, new clients come in, right? Or the amount that enter our account, the amount that enters one's account, right? So these are the kind of things that you may say you want to break down and track. Okay, and then again, you are going to, I will notice this is where we used to talk about like you're just sketching out ideas. You're not like fleshing anything totally, you're not adding color, you're not doing this thing. Why? Because the amount of energy you take into thinking about what color should we use or what color should we not use, right? It can be very, very confusing. So now you said what's the difference between goodness? Yeah, goodness said what's the difference between crazy eight and ideation? Now you can use crazy eight in your ideation process, right? But we mostly use it in the prototyping stage. This is why is that crazy eight is just a tool. So think of it like user experience as like a set of toolbox, and you can pick any tool and use at any stage. Are we together? You can actually pick any tool and use at any stage. Like literally, you can pick any tool and use at any stage at all any stage at all of choice. You can use it at any stage. All right. But the thing now is, we mostly use crazy eight when we are trying to flesh out solutions that we've already arrived at. Okay, we are just trying to flesh it out to see how is it going to look like in the design. That's when we mostly use crazy eight. So we can also use crazy eight to just as a tool. Not we are not going to be drawing like this, right? What we just have is we're just writing out multiple solutions that comes to our mind. Oh, we want to have an analytics system. Okay, write it down. We want to have this one, write it down. We want to have that, write it down. We want to have this one. Um, you write it down. Okay. But in the case where you are saying you already have the solution that you want to focus on, right? How do you present that solution? One of the tools that you use in order to flesh out the ideas is Crazy 8. It is from Crazy 8 you will now even go to what we now call the main low fidelity wireframe, right? Which is what we'll go after this one. Okay, so but I'm going to give everyone an exercise to just try and think of a company. Just go online, just going to be 15 minutes. Think of a company, post your submission. I can quickly give you a review, right, on that. So or 15 or 20 minutes break, depending. So now, moving on, we now have your analytics section here, right? And then again, we can ask, okay, you know what? Here now, we want to track the number of projects as usual. So projects tracking, right? And then at this point here, we have our what? Our client list. Notice that I did not even mention the sidebar at all, right? In this case here, right? Compared to all of this other side here. Then I can go on to say, okay, you know what? Here now, right? We didn't even mention anything about like notification system. That how are they going to be getting notification when a project is complete, a project is ongoing, or a project is fixed, or anything like that, right? So we can now say, you know what? Let's start fleshing this thing out a little bit better now. So I'm going to pull this one out. The three circles, line it up. Then here we'll say, okay, at this upper region now, right? So say somewhere around here. So we're going to have actually two bars now. So we have the normal sidebar, and then we have both the login logout. Then we'll now have our notification bell icon. Okay, so notification. So notification. All right, and then yeah, we have like the name of the company. Then maybe search. Maybe they want to search anything on the platform, right? So search is not the URL link here. Okay, and then now we can now go on to say, okay, you know what? We are going to use these four cards here, right? And then the next thing is we are going to now do the heat map, right, of the different continents. So sometimes you can tag it and then draw an arrow out like this. Okay, and you can say what's the arrow now? Say continent. Okay, and then the next part now you're just fleshing out. Okay, here again we can say we want to use all of this place for our analytics, and then the next part now we can say, you know what? Let's just take it further and say we want to use this place here now for our client list. So I want you to now notice a pattern that client list is not going anywhere. It's just always stay in the same place, right? So we have our client list, and then here now we also want to track all our projects, right? Our projects. Okay. Now, two more space to go. Again, if I come over here, I'm going to draw the line as usual. Three circles, put the line out, drag it. This time I say, okay, you know what? I want it such that, what if they wanted to like check other tabs? So instead of having like a dashboard now, a dashboard, we can still track so many things, right? So we can track analytics, even we can, yeah, we can even actually have like a Kaba, we can have like a Kanban. Please guys, give me a moment. Oh, sorry about that. I want to just quickly attend to something quickly. Okay, so now, moving on, we have this point here, right? So in this point, I can say, okay, I like the fact that we have this header here, and I also like the fact that can anybody still see my screen like this? Okay, and then I also like the fact that um we have what's it called? I also like the fact that we have this sidebar here, right? So I'm going to keep the two. And I can say, you know what, instead of having all the sidebar to show the text, right? Because this is actually a lot of information again. The sidebar is going to be competing with all of this information, right? So I'll just use icons instead. So I can say, okay, no, I'm just going to use icons instead. So I'm going to have this one here. So let me just take my select to delete this one. So now I'm going to take this sidebar. Say, you know what, this one is just going to be icons, right? So it's going to be icons, right? So I can just do this, and so on and so forth, right? And then in this point here now, at this point here, we can say, okay, we have this, and this, and this, right? And then again, we have our analytics, okay? So this may be like a chart, and then the other part of analytics is like all the continents. So let me change this one to red for now. So this point here now is the continent, right? And then back to black. And then this point here now is everything about the client. So clients and their projects. So, and this is why it's very important to always ask questions, right? So people are just like, user experience, you can just go and jump into designing. Please don't jump into designing. Like you can sketch out and flesh out and say, okay, so based on our sketch now, what are the things that you like to see first? And this is what we call human-centered design. You are asking them, what would you like to see first? What is very important to you? Sometimes I see many people do design mobile app, and it's very beautiful, but in my own opinion, it's useless. I give you an example. You design a mobile app now, say a fintech product. You design a fintech product like this, right? Sorry, I'm sidelining here. You design a fintech product, and then what is important to the user is that they also want to see their account balance, right? Instead of giving them the account balance and say, okay, well, this is your account balance here, so okay, 5K, right? And then they want to maybe buy airtime, sell airtime, do transfer and whatever, right? You leave it in all of these three icons here. Instead of them to go this way, this is what they will do. They will do like this because they want to make the app to look fine. They will put business credit card or credit card details here. Let's be honest with ourselves. How many times do you check your credit card details compared to the number of times that you want to see how much is actually remaining in the account balance? Right? So this here now, it may be fine, but it's actually irrelevant. What people want to see is their money. They want to see their account balance. Then after that, they want to be able to make easy transactions, right? And then once they check their account balance and they're able to make easy transactions, the next thing that is very important to them at this point now is what? It's just their list of transactions, right? And then again, their list of transactions, sometimes again, they may have like questionable items that's going on in their account. You may not know, right? They want to be able to report or ask questions. So some people are focusing on, oh, they should just make it beautiful. This is not graphic design work. This is core user experience, meaning that what is important to the user first. Sometimes it may not add up, but put what is important to the user first. Like those are the things that are very important. The reason why we are always trying to simplify interface and making sure that they go to the next page, right? Is just simply because we want to simplify it. We want to simplify things. We just want to simplify. That's the only thing. If not, everything we are just going to throw it out there. That's why if you check all these Chinese interfaces, that's what they do. Very very overloaded, because why? They always know that okay, they need to put what is important first, right? So that is that about the side tracking. So now let's come back here now to our final and last stage now. So in our final and last stage, we can say, okay, you know what? We're going to have this portion here, right? So our 3 circles, line, we get this. Then in this point here, we are going to have our header, right? In this point here, we have our search, we have our notification, right? In this point here, we have the name of the company, the page that you are on. So let's say dashboard, right? And if you notice, we've not established it since. So these are like the more you design, the more your mind works faster. So here now again, I say, you know what? We just want all of the analytics to come out on first, like this. So total number of, so all this one is just talking about like totals, right? We're just doing totalization or totally elements, right? So they were going to break it down and say, okay, you know what, this second point, we're just going to do analytics. So inflows, right? Inflows. So your inflows could be project at the moment, project at the moment. Then you can even check like the stage of the project. Is it in progress? And so on and so forth. Like you can do so many analytics here. Then again, you also want to check, oh, where's your money coming from, right? So maybe you are tracking based on cities. You could do city tracking, uh, continent tracking, country tracking, right? And you can even still break it down more again. So I think we'll probably try one of these right in our fidelity design. And then here now you're not looking at um what's it called now? Uh, your total number of users, right? So your total users, your total customers, and then again you are looking at your what? Your projects. Okay. So I think in this case here, it's not completed. Nobody's going to be interested in completed project. They'll be interested in like active project, right? So or recent active project. So active project. That's what they're going to be looking at. Okay. And then so based off of this now, when you click on this now, right? Let's say this is your project now, right? You can have like its own dedicated page to like explain more. So in this place now, you're tracking all your projects. So we have uh, active projects, active projects. You're also looking at inactive projects, in progress projects. And here you are using what we call a Kanban board. So an example of a Kanban board is if I come, let me create a new tab. Kanban boards, image. Just give me a second. So if you look at this here now, we have to do in progress, testing, or completed. So what you are seeing is what we call a Kanban board, right? So we also use this to have like a full or high level overview of exactly what is what is going on, right? So in this our project items here, in this our list of recent projects now, we can literally also add that by adding maybe using making use of pills, right? So we can use pills. So use of pills to identify or filter active projects, in progress projects, right? Testing, and then maybe completed projects, right? So instead of saying testing, you can say in review. So they submitted for review, submitted for review, right? And then they have their completed project, right? So don't mind me, I'm just doing it. So you can see that it looks like a very, very scattered rough work, right? Which is where it's supposed to be. Then we can now say, so based off of all of this now, we now need to start identifying our actual tax list. Okay, so now based off of this, now this way we now have to like take pen and paper and start writing out all of our actual tax list. So I'm going to bring this one out like this frame here, and so this is more like this is where your typing or your writing now comes it, right? So let's just do this tax list. So what's going to be our tax list? So we are going to be checking our tax list for our dashboard. So we're going to be checking our tax list for our dashboard, right? So, but before we go on, let's go on a break. So the break now is for you guys now to come up with uh go online, right? Search for a problem. You can even use ChatGPT. Search it for a problem and try and come up with crazy eight. Make sure you time yourself 1 minute each for each of the ideas, and then submit your drop your submissions in the Slack group or in the Slack channel, and then or the WhatsApp group, and then I'm going to use one or two people's example and then give them corrections. So we're going to go for 20 minutes break. So I'll stop sharing my screen now, and then after a 20 minutes break, we'll come back and we'll review all of that. So the people that will be reviewing mostly Felix. Felix will help me to review some of your designs before I now continue my classes. Okay, thank you very much. So let's meet. That will be 3:15 p.m. So let's meet at. Sorry, what's the time now in Nigeria? Check. That will be. Let's see. Hello? Felix, can you hear me? Hello, Felix, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I did not know that my mic was muted.
I tried the message also.
Yeah. So I said what I started with was like we I was initially expecting people to make sketches, right? Just quick sketches, but this is fine. I know that this was generated with ChatGPT, but we can still work with it to get better ideas, right? So one of the persons from Slack posted this. So users are abandoning the app or website during the checkout process due to complicated or lengthy checkout experience. So our crazy eight solution can be one, let's condense all the necessary fields like shipping, billing, and payment into just one single page to reduce the number of steps required to complete that purchase. Then we could also have like a guest checkout option. So this would not even need you to create an account before paying. I've seen some checkout processes where you would have already paid ahead first before you do not tell that okay, if you don't want to lose your details, right, please try and create an account to simplify your process. Okay. And then the next year is autofill forms, right? So adding autofill options for returning users, right, could also work as I or as an example to fix said problem. Then the next item here you have is progress indicators. So in progress indicators now, you're just trying to include a visual progress bar that shows how users may how many steps is left. So by seeing this number of steps, it helps to set expectations, right? So when you see all of this crazy eight, what you can simply do is you can take this and what combine and contrast it. So and all of these things now, funny thing about crazy eight is that they still all boils down to assumptions, right? Because you are assuming solutions. And how do you now make sure that your solutions or your assumptions here or your hypothesis, because when you have your crazy eight, they are still hypotheses, they are not your actual final result. That's why user experience is more like a scientific approach to helping users get the best out of using any product or feature as it were. So now with this, you can see that yeah, they are thinking about like different ways on how to optimize flows, such as what we did initially. So somebody initially asked me like, what's the difference between crazy eight and ideation stage? So you can see the clear difference that ideations, you can use your crazy eight inside your ideation stage, right? To just probably try and generate as much ideas as possible that you can quickly now go back to testing and fixing. That's why we said user a design thinking process, which is a subset of user experience, is a what? It's not a linear process. That is not a step-by-step process. It can be a step-by-step process, but it's more like in a circular motion kind of process. Okay, so that's the essence of this. Now another person posted, or before I go on to post what the other person talked about, right, I'm going to identify. So I'm going to take some questions now. So let me check the questions here. Okay, so Ebenezer said, okay, sir, after doing your crazy eight, how do you show your client? Okay, do you show your client and make them understand since it's more of a rough sketch? Yes. So the thing is, when you have your fleshed out crazy eight, right, what you always want to do is like you want to clean it up. You want to clean up your rough sketch, and many times you always want to like put it ahead that, oh, I'm just going to work on a rough sketch. You want to spell it out to the client, because otherwise clients are going to say this design looks bad, this design looks underwhelming. That's what they mostly refer to rough sketches, like this doesn't look like a serious design at all, right? Whereas you are just trying to get a grasp of where exactly or the ideas that they have, right? So that's the essence of having and what's it called now? That's the essence of putting out there the crazy eight. So let them see, okay, they like this idea, they don't like this idea, they like this idea, they don't like this idea. And mind you, you take your crazy eight and giving them to review is actually a form of testing. So you can say that what it's always in the cyclical motion. It's not like a straightforward or a linear kind of experience, right? So that's the interesting thing about what's it called? That's the interesting thing about Crazy Eight. Okay, so again, if you are lazy, and I promise you, you don't need to be lazy. You can always leverage AI. If you come to our advanced classes, or we are going to take another free program session on how you can use AI to design from end to end, and whereas you just be like the product designer or design experience designer that just relies basically on AI to build out your product processes very very fast, from knowing the exact question to ask, to optimizing your design, to knowing the best element to pick, and so on and so forth, right? And to knowing so many stuff. So, and that reminds me, let me share my screen with another items here. So I think Figma Dojo has a couple of packages that they said I should mention to you. Give me a second here. Uh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Give me a second. Yes, so Figma Dojo has a program. They call it Master UX Design and Web Design at your own pace. So like if you having to come to the class now, and we have like a fixed time for it. This one you learn at your own pace. So it's actually a compendium of courses, and then you need to pre-order. If you want to pre-order, you can pre-order for the learn at your own pace package. Just reach out to, you can post it in the comment section that you want it, and then we'll reach out to you via mail, or you send us a DM on, you send Frima Dojo at Frima_dojo in our Instagram, to send us a DM that you want to own your own self-paced courses, right? And then then the representative will help you to get you onboarded, and you can now also now have access to joining the Frima Dojo Pro group, which is what we also what the Frima Dojo team also calls the what's it called, the pro group. So let me just bring out that slide. Yeah, so yeah, now they're trying to say, if you feel you are stuck in your design journey, whether you're a beginner, you're an intermediate designer, or you're trying to get jobs and you're struggling to get global opportunities with no result, right? You get to join the Frima Dojo inner room. So in this inner room now, it feels like a shortcut to success, where you can get access to what's it called now? A shortcut to success, where you can get access to meeting with great designers, or even meeting up with companies, right? That can get you hired. So you can move from your intern stage to your junior level stage to your intermediate stage to getting senior level roles all over the world, right? So that's what the Fema Dojo Pro group is all about. If you'd like to learn more about this thing, please again go to the Fema Dojo page. Yeah, go to the Fema Dojo pages on Instagram, on X, the WhatsApp group, the Slack groups. Reach out to them, and they'll be happy to um help you get onboarded, right? And I'm saying it like this because like there's ongoing plans and ongoing what's it called, ongoing promos and promotions around all of this stuff, right? So in case for people that will be watching this video at a later time, right, they should also know that it's still ongoing, and they can always join the group, right? And learn more about it. So you can when you reach out to those group, the our head of communications will talk to you directly, right? And then you have to go through a couple of processes in order to see whether you're a good fit to join the group. And again, we only have a limited amount of people that the Frima Inner Dojo Room takes per year. So the earlier you join, the better for you. So now let's go back to our design. So I think if you have any questions, please just post it in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yes. So if you have any question, let's post it in the WhatsApp group. Okay. So now next up is we are going to come back here, right? I know some of us have probably forgotten what we were talking about earlier, but when we've been able to itemize a couple of elements, right? That is going to go into our task list. So we're just trying to like write out all the different things that's going to go into that point of view, right? So the first thing is, so let's break them down, right? So based off of what we've achieved so far, this is what our task list is going to look like. So based on our class now, so let's just take it from the top. Please give me a second. Okay. So now the first part, the first section here, we're going to have summary. All this cannot spell. So we're going to have the summary, right? So now, after our summary, the next section we are going to have is the analytics. Then after our analytics, we are going to have client list, right? And then after our client list, now what are we going to have again? We are going to have so summary, analytics, client list, and then we are going to also have project. Then again, we are going to have our navigation. So our navigation in this case here is going to be so now we can now start breaking things up here. Okay. So here now we can have side nav, then header nav. Okay. And then for project now, okay, so we have to do recent, ongoing, um closed, or so recent or in progress. Let's do in progress. Okay. And then for our client list, okay, so what can we do for our client list now? So in our client list now, we can say, okay, list of all the companies, right? Or so the companies that we're working with, or we can say, you know what, the individuals we are interfacing with, the individuals, right? Because we obviously like be interfacing with like a particular individuals, right? So individuals interfacing. So one of the two. Again, it boils down to asking them question. All right. So when you ask them question on these things, they will tell you, okay, yes, this is right. This is what we don't want. This is what we want. This is what we do not want. Right. So now after that, we can now go on to say, okay, what is the analytics like? Okay. So in the analytics section, now we are looking at the revenue coming in and going out. So sorry, the revenue, then how money is moving, the rate at which projects are entering the company. So projects entering slash completion rate. Okay, so you can also track these two simultaneously. Okay, and then for your summary now, we're just going to say, okay, we're going to look at all our total clients, right? So as company wise, then we're also going to look at what is it called? our total clients, our total what's that? Let me look at the list again. Our total projects, right? Then we now look at our revenue. One moment. Yes. Let me check here. Okay, yes. So our list of tasks. Then the last but not the least is our task. Okay. So now, now we now have our what? Our task list. Okay. So if say we want to go to like another page or another element, another page entirely, then we are now talking about user flow. So that movement is known as what? As user flow. But everything that needs to happen within just one single screen is our task list. Okay. So now, based off of this, now we can now say, okay, you know what? This is where we will now start with our low fidelity wireframe. Okay. So our low fidelity wireframe. So let's start afresh. So I'm going to create a frame. So hit F on your keyboard like so. You want to go over to desktop because we're designing for desktop screen, right? And then I use the normal standard one, which is desktop 1440 by 1024. Then the next thing I want to do is I always like to set my grid. But remember that I've already established that I'm going to have in my nav here. Give me a second. So in my nav, let me just take this task list from here. So in my nav here, right, I'm going to have a side nav and a header nav. Okay. Now, very quickly, I want to introduce you to something. So if you are designing dashboard, and dashboard is kind of difficult for you, many people have designed so many products out there or so many companies out there to make your life easy. For example, there's one called ChatCN. If you go to ChatCN website, I think it's give me a second, let me bring it to this screen. So if I open a new tab here and I say I want to go to ChatCN, so ui.chatcn.com, you can see that you have a very nice looking library that you can work with. And then I can even switch my light mode and dark mode here. So very nice looking interface that has like so many interactions already that you can even use, right? Very nice looking interactions already. Okay. So in order to speed up our processes, right, we are going to be leveraging this tool. Okay. So remember that we said that we wanted to design something that has a sidebar and a navigation bar. So out of the box now, if I click on sidebar alone, right, and I scroll down, I think should. Oh, okay, not even down. Yeah, this first one is okay. So and I have this, right? I can if I click on this, notice that it hides the information. Then I can click on this again and it shows the information. So we can literally leverage this, all right, to design our app. So right now we're in the second phase here of talking about our app and how we are going to be designing to make it look very successful. So I'm going to be leveraging charts here, right? And I mean inside this is blocks. So if I come over to components, you have so many components that you can actually learn from, some from dialog to drawer and so on and so forth, right? So all of these components what you can quickly use to speed up your design process. Fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately there's everything is in code, right? But some people have been able to create many of these things in Figma or recreate many of these in Figma so that developers now can easily leverage on this to what's it called, to do their designs. Okay, so that's the interesting part. Now if I go over to our design view now, right, out of the box we've already learned that this is how sidebar looks like from based off of chat CM blocks, right? So it looks like this. Okay, so now if I go over and you can see that this is what makes it look responsive now. So I can see this is what phone, this is tablet, and then this is how phone looks like. And then if I click on this, right, you can see this is how the phone looks like. So that's how you have like your different responsive screen, and this is what full screen looks like. Okay, very important. So you can also like push it to scale and so on and so forth. So let's see. If you notice, the more we push it, the smaller this becomes, right? The smaller the cards here become. I hope you notice it. And then when you close it, the bigger the card becomes again. So this is what we call a responsive web design. So that when you're adjusting the screen sizes, right, is also changing, or design is moving, and so on and so forth. Okay. So how do we now create this? So we come back here and say, for now, just for me to speed up the process, right, I'm just going to go and look for a chat CN library. So I'll come over to the community. Where is it? Where is it? Where? So I'll click on my name, then come to the community and search for chat CN. Okay, together, no space. So I will also look for the one that has like the most views, because that may be useful. But we also have to look for the one that can give us what we are looking for. So I see this one is 180K views. So let me check this one. Open it. So I have a couple of workspaces. Let me see. Prima Dejo, yeah. Okay. So then I'm going to go back to components, right? Then I'm going to look for sidebar if they have. Nope, no sidebar here. Give me a second. Yeah, so I think this is a dashboard here. Yeah, but does it have a sidebar? Let me see. Nope, nope. There was one I was using. Uh, Interesting. This is not it. Nope, nope. Okay, not it. You know what? I'm just going to build it from scratch, right? So in our case now, right? So in order to start, what I usually do is, I know that, okay, for a fact, we're going to, if you look at yeah, we have this element here, and then we have this other container here. So they look like two different containers. So let's do that very quickly. So for now, I'm not going to add any grid. I'm just going to create two frames, right? So let's just make one just slightly darker. So I'm just going to look for the existing colors that we've used before, right? So maybe gray 1, too dark. Maybe gray 2. Probably like a gray 3. Uh, let me see. All these ones are all material design combination of, like, if I go to my asset styles now, so all these styles are there. That's why. So if I click on settings on this, and then I can remove these two. Okay, maybe we just rely on Figma system, right? So say there are some missing libraries. Okay, so let me see. We've got color, responsiveness, shadows. Let me see how many color. Say 136 variables. Okay, good. So I'll select this one now. Let's see our variables. So here now, yes, okay, perfect. So this is background, right? So we have background neutral, we have background default, background positive, and so on and so forth, right? So I'm just leveraging. So all these ones come by default for Figma. So once we activate this one, that's what we are going to be using. So right now I'm just going to use background default, right? So background default is actually white, and then you can even give it like a form of elevation, maybe like background over, something like this. Okay, then I can select this and just line it up this way, bring this other one and duplicate, make sure that it's like uh, almost all over the screen, right? So once you have that, now I'm going to select the outer frame with this desktop one. So I'm going to select this desktop one. Then when I select desktop one, if for those of you that are like that wants to follow me, so I'm going to try and be as slow as possible so that you guys can follow along. So in this case here now, I always start my sidebar at 250 pixels like this, 250, and then for this one, I don't know, can fill up the entire space, right? So I'll select this desktop frame here, and I'm going to select this so for auto layout, right? So once I select my auto layout, you notice that there's a gap here, so I can click on this to increase the gap or close it. So if you look at our reference, yeah, you notice that there's no gap, it's just this line, right? So let's do that. So that means we'll come over here and change this one to 0. Okay, and then for this other part now, this second part now, we change it to a few container like so. Okay, once it's few container, you can go back to select your desktop one and change the alignment to the top left. So align top left like this. So once you have aligned top left, what you now want to do is you want to select the individual frame. So again, it's good practice to like rename your stuff, right? So sidebar, and then you can say container or sheet, okay, or main, okay. So because that's like where all your information are. So I'll select these two and then I'll change to what? Fill container like so. Okay. So once you have that set to fill container, I can go back and select this other one now and say, you know what, I'm going to make it default. So we have something like this. Okay. So for the purpose of this class, we're only going to be working with light mode. Maybe when you join the self paced class, you would have access to learn how to do light mode and dark mode fully, like just by creating your set of colors by yourself. Okay, so now, but in this case we have this. Then notice again that in this place here, our reference, we have like this kind of divider. Okay, so let's introduce that divider. So I'm going to select this other element, click on stroke, and I want to change my stroke to my right like this. Then for me, I feel this is too sharp, so I'll change this one to 0.5 like this. So if you notice already, it's already nicer. Then I can come over here, click on this, and then I'll look for the kind of colors that will work. So Figma has already provided all these elements for you already. So it's just a matter of you picking. So if you notice, you have your border default and your border neutral. So I'm going to pick my border neutral and set it to what? Tertiary. So once I have that, you can see that it's looking like closely. Okay. So just so that we have like a clear demarcation, I'm going to make the background slightly darker like this. Okay. So now that we have done that, the next point now is if you go back again, we've established our sidebar, right? We now need the upper navigation. So let's do that. So in this point here, we're going to press F for our upper navigation like this. Okay. Then again, this one now, this inner element now is inside our main now. So this one you can say uh header nav or just nav, right? So this is just nav. Okay, then you want to make sure that what set to fill container. So but it can only be set to fill container. Let me give it a color for now. It can only be set to fill container if it has what we call auto layout, right? So the parent has to have auto layout, and the way you can tell is by the way these icons look like. Right now, this look like an hashtag, right? If I select it and come over to the right and I click on this, then you see that the icon has changed, right? So this icon signifies auto layout, horizontal, vertical. Okay, so you can see that it's a vertical position. But notice that when I click the auto layout now, it's not closing up again. So if I click on this element here, you can see it's changing to fixed. So you want to fix it by changing it to what? View container. Some of you may be asking, but you said that whenever we are designing, we should always start with grid. I'll talk about it now. Now the next point is for our header now, we still do not need grid. Okay, so I've changed this one, make sure that it's set to fill container. But notice that it's not closing up, and there's a reason why. If you select your main container sheet, you will notice that you have what? 342 as your pixel. So what you want to do is you just want to change it to 0 and press enter. So you can see now it has fixed, it's fixed to place, right? So for the height here, I'm just going to start with 48 for now, and then I will increase as needs be. Okay, so inside this container now, that is where we are going to now throw our grid. So I press F on my keyboard again, right? F for the shortcut to create a frame, or you can click on this hashtag here and then left click and drag on your screen. So in this one again, now we can have the container. Okay, so this here actually is going to be our main, right? And then this one will be our main wrapper. Okay, then based on having that now, you will now select this one, change to fill container, and you want to do the same for here, fill container. Okay, and I noticed that out of the box I have this space here, right? You can just left click and drag to make sure that it lands on 0, or you can come and adjust it right in this spot here. Yes, so it's very possible. Marvelous asked a question now. I just decided to take a pause and check the channel. So Marvelous asks that is it possible that all of this information will be provided before the commencement of the project by the project manager, or the designer has to do it? So the way it works is everything will be provided right before you even get to this point. So anything that has to do with like writing text and textual based elements, right? You've done that already. Then the next step now is you want to look for a reference that you can use to match up your raw sketch, because this is actually going to be your clean low fidelity wireframe. So normally I usually do it on paper, right? And it's a lot more neater than that, but it's usually like more of scribbles too. Okay, so now moving on, so we have this point here, right? So in our main now, that is where we will now introduce our layout grid. Very important. So, and the layout grid actually came from this CSS, so cascading style sheet. So if you join our I think beginners class, right, you learn about CSS, HTML, and those ones are going to be like hands-on training, right? Before you even go into like all the other processes about user experience design. Okay, so excuse me. So right now I have this set to row. I'm going to select this and change it to what? To columns, and I want to change this to 12. And the good thing about Figma is that it's either you type here or you click on this drop down to pick 12. It stops at 12. Any other number above that, you'll have to type it yourself. Okay. And for me, I always like to add like a padding. So if you look at this place here, you notice that it's actually starting from here. And on your browser, there's this trick where you can actually know how to copy different sizes of different pages. So if I click on the spec now, I'll come to this select tool, and if I come over here, I can literally see the amount of space that is here. So if you look at the green parts and you look up where you have like div, the flex, and so on and so forth, just scroll down and take your eye down. You can see that the padding on the left and on the right is what 16 pixel by 16 pixels, and then on the top is 0, and the bottom right is 16 pixels. So this is like a shorthand way of writing with CSS code, right? So that's cascading style sheet. Again, if you want to learn more about that, please reach out to the community manager of Figma Dojo and we'll be sure to help you with that. So now, in that case here now, what we are going to now do is that for us too, we are now going to say, we are going to set our margin, right? So because in Figma it's set as margins, in code is padding. So, but it's literally almost the same idea. So in this case here now, come over here, come to your margin, and you set it to what? 16 pixels. Okay, and this is how you can steal from existing ideas that will work for you. Okay, now again, we can see what we call gutter here. Your gutter is actually the middle space, right, between all these red indicators. So if I come over here, come back here, and I click on this, I can simply see, excuse me, that this one here now is not showing up. I don't know why. Because, oh, okay, I know why. Because it's actually a grid. So when you're working with grid in this thing, again, let me just keep it all together. When you're working with grid, I do know what the gap is. It's actually still 16 pixels, right? Because it's written with another framework of CSS called Tailwind. And you can see gap 4 is actually the same thing as 16 pixels, according to Tailwind. So these are the things that you get to learn if you join the self-paced classes. Excuse me. So now, moving on, we set this up, and then we are going to check our gutter now and make sure that our gutter tree is set to what? 16 pixels, like so. Okay. So now, right? Hello? Okay, I think everybody can see me. So I'm going to duplicate this, like so, like so, like so. Okay. So we already have that there. Okay. Looking good already. Then the next element now that we now need to look into is that we have our analytics, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to press Shift G again, select this one, bring this one down. So and then all of this section now we're going to have what? All our analytics there. So I can say for this part here, we can have one side of the analytics like this, right? And then another side of analytics like this. Okay. So our dashboard is looking put together. But notice we've not spaced things out. We'll get to that when we'll get to that level shortly. Okay. And then now we'll move to the third aspect here. Okay. And now you can now start naming it. Oh, mind you, you can start naming it. So for here now, I know that I'm going to have analytics, right? So I can call this one analytics. Analytics. Yeah. Then here now, remember that we said that we wanted to do like some kinds of filter, like maybe countries that they are from in this place. Now based off our crazy, I think this active project, inactive project, countries. Yeah, so we said I wanted to itemize like countries and continent and so on and so forth, right? So we can do that breakdown, yeah. So we can even like literally divide this one into two. And the simplest way of doing it, you can make this one field container like this to this, and then just say divided by two, right? When you divide it by two, just close it up, and there you go, right? So yeah, and I can do country stats. Okay, so we have that. Okay, and then this one can say revenue. All right. So we are moving forward. Then the next section now is that we want to say, okay, we want to see the list of all our clients, right? So we can say for this section here now, so we can have a table of our client list as required in our tax list. Okay, can you see it? So our tax list, and then the last but not the least will now be um our projects. Okay, well again, mind you, you need to ask the users to know exactly what is the most important to them. So that's why some very advanced dashboard, what they do is that they treat all of these elements as components that you now can go there and rearrange it the way you like to optimize for you. Do you understand? So if we're optimizing for a manager, now this is where it now gets important. Everything is important, but if it's a manager that we are trying to optimize for, we will know that this now will not work. But if we are trying to optimize for like a marketing manager, this what we've designed there, right, will work. But let's say we are optimizing for a project manager in this kind of dashboard, this will not work. Because what is actually important to them here now will not be not only revenue, right? What will be important to them is their current project and how are they tracking it. So in this case now what we can now simply do is for this point here we can have this one close like this. We can bring this one over here and then make this one all the way like this. Okay, so we're going to close this one up like this, and then we have this one at this point here. Okay, and then now we now have our client list just right here. Okay, then for this section here now, we are now going to have what we call our active clients. So we're going to have our active clients or total active clients, right? We're going to have number of projects. Excuse me. We're going to have number of projects. We are also going to have what's it called now? Task. Then again, we are also going to have revenue. Okay. So now that we have all of these set in stone now, I remember that we said that okay, we don't want all the information on the dashboard to be fully visible like the sidebar now, right? We just want to see only the icons, right? So what we can now simply do is that we need to start thinking about like how can we make this entire design responsive or properly lined up. So first thing first is let's go back to our main, right? So inside our main now, if I click on auto layout, you see that everything will be scattered. So can you see everything is scattered right now? So how do we fix? So again, you just want to pick closely related elements. Shift A. I'm going to pick these two. Shift A, and make sure that they are well lined up. Okay. Then the next thing is I'm going to select this one here. Shift A like this, and then I have these two selected like this, and then this selected like this. Then what I cannot go on to start doing is I can start make sure that they have very equal spacing, right? So this one is 16. what's the space I'm using here? 16. So everything just have very even and clean spaces. Okay, like this. Now, if you are now wondering that, okay, we've actually established in terms of grid, we've established the what's it called? The columns, right? What about the rows? How do we know the correct height for the rows? So what you can simply do is, if you want to know the or improve the height for your rows, what you can simply do is this: you select, you add another layer grid here, then you come over here, click on columns, right? Sorry, you click on rows, and then your rows now, you are going to click on this drop down, and what you want to click on is auto. So you have this thing. So first thing first, I'm going to change it to color green so I can tell or color blue, so I can tell the difference. Okay, just use any contrasting color, whatever. Then once you have that, I'm going to change um stretch to top. Okay, so you want to follow all of these steps I'm giving like this. Then once you have that now, you want to change the height to just 1 pixel like this. Okay, some people what they do is that they change it to 8, like the height, they just change it to 8 pixel like this, and then they change their gutter to maybe 8 like this. So you have something like this. Okay, so 8 8 so and this number now, I did not bring it from heaven. No, it's actually from our spacing system. So if you remember, if you want to review your spacing system, go and watch the very first video that Felix talked about. So that's where the spacing system is actually specified in. Okay, so we have this, and this, and the same with this, right? So now if you look at it now, let's not start lining things up very well. So we notice that out of the box, we need to make sure that everything is lining up on the grains, right? So I'm going to close this one down. Uh, Give me a second here. So let me change this one to fill container for now, right? Then in this case here, I can do, why is it going up? Oh, wrong one. Yeah, okay. So let's just make sure that it's closed up with the grain. So and then for the height of this one, let's do 64. Again, you can also still select this one to inspect it, right? And then I can come over here. I can see that what is 867 by 64. So 64 is where you have your height. Okay, the 807 is the width. So if I reduce it now like this, press escape once, like this, and I check again. Can you see it? So 64 in height. So that's what we're doing here. So I'm going to have this one at 64, right? So now that, and if you look at it, out of the box, you can say it's sitting exactly on the green. Okay. So now that you have that, the next thing is, if I turn this one off, okay, what I can do is I want to add what's it called? For my main wrapper now, I cannot decide to add an auto layout, but I don't think there's need for that. Yeah, that was where I should have added the auto layout. So I'm going to press. So when I press command backspace, or if you're using Windows, you just do control backspace. What you simply do is that, or control delete rather, it's going to remove your auto layout. Okay, or you can just right click and then ungroup. You are done. So for my own group, it's saying command and backspace. So for people that are using Windows, maybe something different. Okay. So once you have that set in place now, I can click on here on this point here and make sure that where is it? Something is off. Okay, so select this one and then make sure it's auto layout. Okay. So once it's auto layout now, I can set my height and my width. So I know that for a fact my height should be 16 and my width too should also be what? 16. Okay. So you have this. Okay. So now that you have that now, let me see whether we have any questions if I go on. Hello, can everybody hear me? Hello, can anybody hear me? I Thanks, Matt. Okay, so no questions for now. Then let me continue. So the next step is I'm going to select all of these elements, right? And then we have this. So now if you notice, I can simply select this and say uh fill container. So I'll select this and say fill container, right? So this is how you can get a very clean um dashboard. Okay, so now how do you make this responsive? Okay, and when we mean responsive, remember when I showed you this, right? You can see that right here now, you can close it up, you can open it, you can close it up, you can open it, you can close it up, and so on and so forth, right? So if I come back here, I select this one now. Okay, so we are going to now start doing something here. It's called constraint, but once you use auto layout, you will not be able to use constraint as effectively. So again, I want to make sure that I want this thing to fill up the container. So I'll come over here and click on fill container like this. Then make sure that this other element here is also set to what fill container instead of org. And then the one that is going to be the larger part is going to be set to fill uh container like this. Okay, and then if they want to scroll, they can scroll as much as possible. So you should have a clean layout design like this. If you look at this one too, right, you can see that it has like the bottom end here. Okay, so once you have that there now, the next thing is how then do we now make this thing such that when I start pushing it like this, right, so that head I can see is not working, right? It's just being static. So let's fix that. So first thing first is let's check whether we have our auto layer set for. So we are going to pick like one step at a time. Okay, so and then the next thing is I want it to be like when I close this right now, this is set to all contents, so this is set to fixed width. Okay, and then what I want to change it to first thing first is um I want to make sure that all of this is set to fill container instead of all content. Very important. So this one is going to be fixed, but you see this other one here is going to be fill container. Very, very important. So now if I select this and I close it already, you cannot tell the difference, but let me show you something. If I go to my main wrapper and I change the color, let's say I change the background to let's say primary color black now, right? You'll still not be able to tell the difference, but you should get something like this. Okay, so now I'll come over again to my nav, make sure it is set to what fill container, right? And then also make sure my main element is also set to what fill container like so. Okay, so if you do that now and I select the left hand side and I click on this, you still not tell the difference because the children have not been told to what to readjust themselves. Okay, so that's what we are going to be doing next. So now the next thing is if I double click into this section here, please pay premium attention because this is actually part of premium class, but we add it as benefit. So I'm going to come over here, click on this drop down, and then I'm going to set a mean size. Very important. So, but when I'm setting the mean size, I'm going to set it for the children. Okay, and I really like the fact that this is 278. And for mobile, I know that most phones are around them. So normal iPhone is like so. If I come over to phone, I have my phone set to say 375. Yeah, so this one is very okay. Then if I set it like say I set this one to 375, right? Then if I account for the padding, that's 16 pixels on both sides, so that should be minus 32. So I'm going to land on 343. Okay, so since I already know I'm going to land on 343 for mobile, what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to set the mean width of all of this one, right? So right now I'm going to add uh, a mean width around maybe 300. Okay, so if I set this one to 300 like this, the problem is that it's going to grow out of proportion and I don't want that. So how do I fix for this, right? So I know for a fact that if I set it around the exact amount that it is right now, it's still going to fill up the entire space. So I'm going to set my mean width to 278, just like what we have right now. Okay, very important. Then the next thing is that make sure that you have this set word to fill container. Then again, if you press shift and enter once on your keyboard, If you press shift and enter once on the keyboard, Vic P said, I thought you only said auto layout on text. No, you said auto layout on early element. Element in a interface like this page that you're seeing like this now. All elements are boxes. And so whether it's your color, your text, your rectangle, your shapes, whatever, all elements are boxes. That's why if you look at it, see, if I select this one, it's a box, right? And anything that is a box within your interface can be added, can be set to auto layout. Okay, so now moving on, if I go outside again and select this, right, and I push this, please pay attention, and I push it like this, it's still not going to move, right? But so that you can quickly see the quick effect is that for this one now, I'm just going to add a mean width here. So I'm going to say my mean width should be let's say 120. No, yeah, 120. So somewhere around here. No, 120 is too large. Let's say 64. Yeah. So let's say my mean width is 64, and then I'll select this one like this. Please pay attention. I'll now say come over to where is it? Where is it? Yeah. Then I'll now set a max width of 250 pixels, right? So for this one here now, I'll say I will change it to fill container. Please pay attention. I'll change this one to fill container. We should have something like this. But remember that we have 250, right? I'll change it to fill container first. Then I'll now set a max width of 250 pixels. Okay. Now pay attention. When I start dragging like this, it's supposed to start moving, but I don't know why yet. But we'll be breaking it down. So I like as I'm making mistakes, so I can be breaking it down for you guys. Okay. So if I select this point here now, again, let me see. So we have our fixed width at okay, so right now we have this one set to fixed width of 250. So I'm going to change to fill container. So we should have something like this. And then we should set our max width to 250. So we haven't set that yet. So now if I start dragging, if I click and start dragging, I should be able to start shrinking in size. But I don't know why it's not shrinking yet. Let me see why it's not shrinking. Because right now I noticed that if you notice, it's giving me like a red bar. So meaning that it's seeing it, but I don't know what's going on yet. So we have this one set to this thing. So this one is max width. So why is it not moving? So let me say the width is 0, and then it's set to fill container like this. Or let me set the max width to 200, right? No, 250 is fine. And then I try to start closing things up. So notice that when I get to this point, right, that is when it start closing up like this. Can you see it? This is it. So it's working now. So now the only thing now I now need to do is that for this one too, I need to give it a set of instruction. So let me undo some things here. Very quickly. Yeah, so we are here now. So let me select this one and then go and check it. So this should be set to fill container 64 and 250. So that is correct. So now in this point here now, it, so in this point here now, we have this particular element here now. Okay, so if I select it again, so and these are like whenever you have a design problem, like these are you tricky, you'll be looking at it one after the other. It's not like no, it's not working, so you're just going to give up on it. No, you'll be doing it one after the other till you get it right, and then you'll be checking it one after the other to see where exactly the problem is. So I put this one. I notice that this is showing red border here. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it. So you notice that. Let me hide this. So the more I kind of close this up, right, the more you see the red border. So that means it's working. So I'm going to undo that again. So then the next thing now is if I come over here, yeah. So the next thing is this is just what I want to see. So the next thing is if I come over here now, say I have this element. Let me clean this one. So I have this element here. Remember that we said this one to what? To fill what's it called? To fill container, right? I already have our mean width. Okay, with this one, there's no need for your max width. Then if I try and close it up again, just slightly, So it's still closing up, so it's not moving yet. So why is it not moving? Let's go and check our layer panels. So these are layer panel here. So we check one after the other. So we have this one here, right? So we can even start from the inner part and see why it's not moving. So this one is still closing up. So that means our problem is actually from the containers here. So right now this is set to fixed width, right? So let's change that to what? Fill container. This other one too is also set to fixed width. So we'll also change that to fixed container like this. So now if I select this inner one again and try and pull it or push it, notice that it's already moving, right? At least moving slightly. So let's fix the other. So for these two now, they are set to fixed width, right? So I'll change it to fill container like so. Okay. And mind you, whenever you do any element or you set element to fixed container, make sure that excuse me, make sure that you set your min width and your max width. Very important, especially when you want elements to sit down on top of each other. So right now all of these elements, they are not sitting on top of each other, but now this is where the tree comes in for you to make elements sit down on top of each other. Initially we've been using just these two direction arrows, right? This arrow is simply saying we want you to what? To wrap means that if you get it to a certain length, right, and it's too small, it's too big, just go to the next line. If it's too small, it's too big, go to the next line. So I'm going to change this one now to wrap. Do you see it? And immediately I click on wrap now, you can see that what it fills up the entire container. Some of them might say, oh, we did not see the element here. It's because we did not set an height. So let's fix that. So let's say we want our height to remain 180. So you need to make sure that you also, apart from having a fixed height, make sure you set your what? Your in height and set it to what? 180. Okay? Very important. So now, if I click on this again and I change it to what? Wrap, like this. Let me see. Why is it not? Oh, okay, I understand why it's closing it off. So for this one here now, I only set the height to this one, not the inner children, so which is actually a mistake. So I need to select each of the children and say, despite the fact that I made this fill, right? I can still say I want my mean height to be 180 pixels, like this. Okay. So now if I select the parent container, because the parent container that always houses the what's it called? The wireframe. Sorry, the wrap, right? So if I click on this wrap here now, so you can see it has wrapped already. But remember that for the parent, for this actual frame, so let's call it so header, or no, this is our summary, right? This is our summary section. So in our summary section now, I can say, you know what, let me change it to what? All content, instead of setting a height for it. So you can see now, out of the box now, we already have 2 lines already. Okay, very interesting stuff. Again, you want to do the same for this point here now. So some of us might be asking that, how come revenue is taking up this space where we have not even gotten to this thing? So that's why, again, you always want to make sure that when you are doing few container like this, right, it's important to make sure that you look at your mean size. And if you look at it here, we already said our mean size for what? 278. Okay. And then we now also say it should be few container. So we can even say our mean size is 278. For now, let's just add the max size of according to mobile, we said that we have already established that according to mobile, it should be 343. So we'll say 343. So if I press enter like this, so we shall have this. So mean size is 278, max size what? 243. If I select the parent container again, that's this summary section here now. Okay. And where is it? And I change back to this right. Notice that it stays in place. So that means even despite the fact that we press this, right, there's actually an issue that we need to figure out. Okay. So if I click on this, it should still stay on one line because we've not even started dragging at all. So that's why you should now start looking out for your mean sizes, okay, to be sure that your mean size is what is meant to be. So this way we used to introduce like a little bit of calculation, right? So these are what our calculation is going to be. It's very straightforward. So we have this here. So we have established that we have 1190 pixels, right? So we say 1000 now 190 minus the padding on these two sides first of all, so that will be minus 32. Then all the paddings on this side, and this side, okay, so that will be minus 16, minus another 16, minus another 16. So 32 minus what is going on? Hello? I think everybody should be able to hear me now. Give me a second here. Let me disconnect my mic and connect it again. I think everybody should be able to hear me. Hello? Okay. I think it should work now. It should work now. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
we can hear you. We can hear you.
disconnect my mic and connect it again. Okay, thank you. So now, um So let me just quickly go over it. So I think we understand to this point here. Felix, I think I was able to capture this point. So I think we understand to this point where we're able to like cascade these elements, right? It should work now. It should work now. I'm sorry. So we have this point here that we've actually achieved, and then I said that for this next section, I just renamed it as details. Then I just want to treat this because if you think about it, let me just hide all this one for now, right? I'm just going to set opacity so that it doesn't confuse anybody. Okay, so these are just two containers, right? So we have just two containers. Okay, so in the details section, so let me just rename it. So these are sometimes good to like name your files, right? So we have projects, and then for this section here we have what's it called now? I'm trying to remember the name. uh let's just say list, right? So different type of list, so revenue list and so on and so forth, right? Or everything about the client. So let's just say this is our client section. So this is our client section, and then this is our what's it called now, our project section. Okay, so now in this case here now, what you can now go on to say you have now is you want to make sure that this one now cascades down, right? Again, the same idea. So if I do again, one has to be fixed, one has to be few container. The two cannot be few container at the same time, otherwise they'll be fighting for the same space. Or you can set like a fixed max width. Okay, but the thing is, because of responsive for tablet, you may not exactly know what the max width is going to be like. Or for mobile, you may know, but the problem is again is that there are different type of sizes of mobile. So in order to, your safe bet is to make sure that once you have your main size, every other thing can enter few container. So you see this your section here now. I'm going to select this one and said I'm just going to have a mean size, and my mean size is going to be 375 pixels. Okay, and for this section here, I'm going to set a mean size of 767 pixels. Okay, or 760, something just low because it's going to be few container anyways. So I'm going to select this and change it to what? Few container. Again, once I change to few container, notice that there's no space between them, and you want that space to come back. So I'll change this from auto to what, 16, and then you want to do what? The cascade down feature like this. So this cascade down feature is actually working. And why did I say so? If I should increase this one now, say I increase this one to like maybe 1170, right? See, it pushes it out of the view already, and that's not what I want. Again, for the overall container now, I can say this one I'm going to change to a few container. So you have this, okay? So and then this is set to what? To few container. So if I change it on to 1170, so it pushes it to the next line. All right, very interesting stuff. So again, I want to change this to what? All content. So for the height is all content, but for the row element or for the width is what? Few container. So now if I have that selected, I can come over here now, pick this. Let me bring out change it back to 100%. So a shortcut to do is when you select elements like this and you click outside, let's say you are just trying to design really fast, right? If you select all your hidden elements, notice that this is 0. Just tap 0 two times, 1 or 2. So sometimes it can be 1, sometimes it can be 2. So you can just so 0 for opacity, 0 to change to 0% opacity, and then tap 0 again to change to 100%. So now I'm going to remove the border that I added before. So and I'm doing shortcuts. I'm using Shift Enter to just go back one step. So that's how to like design really fast. Okay. So if I was designing this, I would have forgotten I've done by now, but I'm just trying to walk you guys step by step so that it makes sense. Okay. So now we've achieved all of this already. Then now, if I select this and start pushing, please pay attention. If I select this and start pushing now, do you see everything is now falling in place? Can you see it? Can you see it? Then this one is moving. Okay, now for this one here, which is going to be the biggest element in the screen, we need to now think about what is going to be our desktop size and what is going to be our mobile size, right? So on our desktop, on our what is it called, on our mobile size is what we are going to think about, because if you look at it very well, notice that when you start closing things up, right, when you get to a particular stage, it gets hidden. The only issue is that we cannot achieve this with Figma. Except we have to use like components. We can do this by using components. Okay. so that when it gets to a particular width, it gets hidden. But for components, you need to join the advanced class to learn more about components on how to do this kind of responsible using components. Okay, so but in our own case, what we'll simply do is we'll just set it up for tablet view only. So and when if you press F on your keyboard now, okay, and you close this up and you open tablet, you can see that our smallest size is like 834. But I always like working with like 760, 744, that kind of stuff, right? So same thing with mobile. Like I always try to pick the one that is small but not too small, or not the lowest. Okay, so that kind of range. So in this case, I'm going to pick like 763. Okay, instead of 744 that Figma is giving us here for like iPad mini, I'll do 763, right? So for 763 now, so for this width, I can say if I want this one, I only know that this is going to be 64, so I can calculate it as I will do for this one now. Let's first change the weight to 763 like this, and then for the width here, this is going to be 64, right? So I can change the color very quickly, and then I can quickly select this to have auto layout. Then select this one and change it to what? Where do you go? Yes, on auto layout already. Okay, they are not inside the file yet. Then change this one back to 763. 763. Notice I'm not bothering about like the height. It's just the width I'm interested in. Then now I can change this to the right. Then select this one, fill container. There's not going to be any spacing, right, or padding. So I'll change this one. So another trick is you can hold control down on your keyboard and select the first one. It will select all the sides together and press 0 on your keyboard. So yeah, now you can have this space here is what? It's 8 padding. I don't want that. I'm going to change it on to 0. So now I can select this one and have a feeder. Okay, what I need to aim for is what? 699. So for this case here, I cannot say while I am trying to cascade, I don't want my mean width, right, will be what? 700 and what? I'm sorry, 699 or 700 in this case. So I'll select the mean width and say 700. And this is why I'm saying this. So I select my mean width as 700. Sorry, I put it in the wrong port. So this should be 700, and then this other one should be fill container, right? So if I select this one and I start dragging all the way down, can you see it? Can you see it? So this is how you can build your responsive state. And notice that now, in this case here now, this is where you now need to start doing some fixes. Notice that when I start dragging all the way to the right, it's only revenue that is growing, others are not growing. So let's fix that. So if I select this one here now, despite the fact that this is set to fill container, we already have a max width here. So what we can do now is that we need to select all the other elements that have max width here, and then we are going to remove them like this. So we have this here. So this goes to fill container. Okay, and remember that if I try and close this thing up now, right? Do you see it? It stays in place, right? So again, make sure that your mean width is working. So make sure you have your mean width set to like 270, something just smaller, right? Every other thing will be calculated automatically by itself. Okay, so this one is going to be fill container, right? And then now let's try and drag things. So again, when you're dragging, you can easily tell the one that is not yet in line. Okay, should be fill container, and then she'll have a mean width, and then same for this. Okay, so now if I try and close things up like this, can you see now? Can you see everything is stacking correctly? It feels like magic, I know, but everything is not stacking correctly. Okay, so the next section again is this point here. So again, we're going to do the same thing we did, fill container. So it's just like a formula actually. So make sure that you have your fill container, and then make sure your fill container is lesser than than a particular point here. So this I'm just going to do, say, less than 300. Okay, like it should not be up to the amount of fill container. That's the only thing you just need to do for your main container, and you're done. You're practically done. And then I can close it up like this. Can you see it? So but notice that it's not country start is not closing up, right? So let's fix that. So if I select this two now, it's set to fill container, so that works. Let's see. So I noticed for a fact that this is set to 270, right? While this is set to 300. Okay, so let's fix that. So we're going to select these two elements and say for our mean width, we're going to change it to 270. Okay, and then make sure it's set to fill container. if I press shift enter once, it go back to the parent, it's set to fill container. So something is missing here. So you can see that the overall one here is still missing. So I can come over here now and say, you know what, this should be set to fill container. Okay, and then when I checked again, I noticed that my mean width now may be the one that is wrong. So let me click on remove mean width for now, and I notice that it's working nicely. So I can undo that for now, and then in this case here now, I'm going to simply open things up again like this. So now that everything has been opened up, let's shift enter, and then I notice that the mean width for this one is actually the one that is wrong. Okay, so again the same thing, our mean width should be 270, right? So you just want to balance this up, right? So that is our mean width, but make sure that this is set to what, to fill container, right? And then this one now has a max width, uh so max width should not be more than 370. So our max width will not be more than 375, right? So we should always have this. Okay, so now if I try and push and pull all the way, everything should work nicely, nice and tidy. Can you see it? Then if I select these two again, now I notice another problem here. Again, these two again should be fill container. Why is it not working? Why? Because it's supposed to go to the next line, right? So this is how you can like tweak your designs and be checking it one after the other, and then I can click on this to go to the next line. So if I start pulling things out again, can you see it now? Everything feels like magic. So you've been able to successfully create a what, a responsive desktop size. Okay, now I noticed that when I push it to this corner here, this one is the correct amount of size I need it to be, but this one is not the correct amount of size I need it to be. Simple trick is this: if I press shift enter now for once, I know that this is 738. I'll go and click on the one that is not working, and then I notice that the mean width is set to 700, right? Let's drop it down to like maybe 600. So if I go to select the mean width and change to 600, everything should work nicely. Can you see it now? And then you have this, so you can close it up even to this point here. All right, so if I close it to this point, I still have this. This should not where is it? Yeah, that's the mean width. Then 600. So this, if you notice, this is already around 600 already, and you know 600 plus 64, that's already 664, and this is 664, which is more. So if we are doing our responsive view now, you can simply show your developer this, and they just get the points, right? Instead of having to use your mouth to be explaining a long story. Okay, so this is how you can easily create your responsive view. So now, I want to ask a question. Should we continue, because it's still going to take us like another 1 hour to start polishing things and adding icons and everything? Do you want to stop here, and then we do like a part two next week? We do a part two in 2 weeks time to complete this, because the next class is going to be about business of design. So now that you've learned design, how then do you what's it called? Now that you have learned design, how then do you now sell yourself, or how then do you create a business out of it? So that's what you are going to be learning strictly in the next class. And then if there's still time, we'll just continue from there to finish up on this as regards that. So let me just see a raise of hands if you want us to continue now, or in 2 weeks time, or next week. You can just post it there. So I'm actually a little bit tired now, so based on what I'm seeing here, we are going to end the class here now. Okay, so then we'll pick it up again next week. So that means we'll have two session classes next week, because next week is actually supposed to be when we are going to grade you and issue out certificate to the people that's supposed to go there, and then we'll also be giving scholarship, as well as $10 by Ripple. So yes, let me even talk about Ripple again. Ripple is a cross-border payment platform. They are focused on helping people like you who are into design or other elements, and they want to get a foreign bank account, and they are struggling to get a bank account, right? Because I know I've been in that situation where many people have called and be like, Ade, please, can I use your account to collect funds? And I'm usually like, no. So, and now out of the goodness of my heart, we're able to successfully reach out to Ripple because we feel like this is something that will be very beneficial for you guys. So by Monday, I'm sorry, make sure by next week Saturday, make sure you are already registered with Ripple so that you can have your account. So that now you can start selling out your skills out there, be posting your designs and all. Sell your skills and um again, Frema Dojo has an inner room that you need to join. Very important. These are stuff that you will not get to see on a daily basis, or these are stuff that are they make it very vague for you to follow or catch up or understand, right? And these are things that you need to do. Make sure that you share this video with as much people as you feel like you love, and it could be like a better way to change their life for the year of 2025. 2025 has a lot of gifts for us to take. So thank you very much guys for having me. Please let's pick up this class same time, same place, different link obviously, and cheers for now.